My name's Denny Lee. I'm an actor, singer, dancer, all that junk. Shakespeare, musical theater, my jam, and yeah, that's me.
Hi there, my name is Tran, and I am an actor and a writer. That's my intro.
Nice. I'm Nina Williams-Teramachi. I'm an actor and stage manager, and yikes. Been doing it for a while, and continuing to move along as best as I can. That's my intro.
Hi, I'm Stanley Dang, and I'm an actor, and I'm pretty new to acting. It's only been like a year.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Like a little under a year or a little over a year?
A little under a year.
Oh.
What year are you in school?
I just graduated.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks.
No.
I'm trying
to be an actor, does it?
Yeah.
He's one of us now.
I gotcha.
I'm sorry.
Cool. I'm Hazel Lozano, and I'm about to graduate from the graduate acting program here at UW, and then
Yeah. Then we'll see what happens.
and then act, and
And she's a great
who knows
singer
what
too.
else.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes sing. I sometimes
Girl.
write. I'm mostly Facebook.
Yeah.
You may recognize me from Facebook. How did you get introduced to Asian art?
Kathy Shea. So when I was 13 years old, oh wait, not 13. I was about 15, 16. There's a flyer in our high school, and it said Intiman Theater is having a Intiman Teen Council. And our school has gone to like field trips to see their plays, and I was like, oh, this is really outstanding. I would love to be part of this. So I applied, got in, and I was surprisingly one of the few actors in the program. Most people just like enjoyed seeing theater,
Yeah.
and like critiquing and like seeing like how to make theater and like support it. But like I was the one actor. So Andrew Russell, the artistic director, and he still is artistic director, he asked me if I could come in for this random board slash donators meeting, because they like to get to their business, but since they're a theater, they want to give them a little bit of entertainment, sort of.
Yeah.
So I did a monologue that he gave me. Like I read it cold. He gave me some direction, and then I had the paper in front of me when I performed it. And that was the same for Kathy, and she met me that night, and she gave me her card, and I got really excited. I was like, wow, like they exist, like Asian people exist in theater. Who knew? Because I was aware. I was raised by my grandma and my mom, who they have their mama bear instincts, and I kind of like inherited that trait from them. And ever since I was, in middle school, I knew that I was Asian. I was not an actor. I was an Asian actor. So I was different. And it's not bad, necessarily. Depends where you are. Everything has its pros and cons. So at that moment, I was really excited that there is an advocate out there. And if there's an advocate for Asian American theater, it's definitely Kathy Shea.
Absolutely. What was yours? Oh, I was about to say that, because you're from Seattle, aren't you?
I am.
And Seattle, there is an Asian community there.
Huge.
Exactly.
Here?
Here. I mean, like here in Seattle. Here in Seattle. I'm from Portland, which is like visually very similar to what Seattle is, but demographically, it's not.
Right.
It's very, like, if you think Seattle's white, it's even whiter, and
Right.
there are no Asian theaters. Like you won't see like a Porkville Productions or Sis Productions, anything like that. You won't see it. And so like growing up and seeing no Asians on stage ever, in local theater, regional theater, anywhere around Oregon. And this is completely barring Oregon Shakespeare Festival because that's way south. But which they do a wonderful job at that.
Absolutely.
But that's another topic. But Portland specifically, it was just really difficult to find any sort of exposure to what Asian theater is, and finding people that represented, seeing myself on stage was really difficult.
Right.
I didn't really think that it was a thing. The Asian people that I did know in theater were mostly technicians or were stage managers.
Right.
And so I figured that was the only way I could really get into it. So I connected with them and started stage managing just because it was
So you really
what
want to perform. Is that it?
that's, yeah. And it was just easier because it was easier to see myself in that role because that's what I've been seeing before.
Can I ask, did you assimilate to like the white people because you had to like get in on theater? Do you think?
To some extent, yeah. I think that to get roles, it would be definitely to be like that. That color conscious casting was still kind of a new concept and not really being implemented, especially in Pacific Northwest at that time. And it seemed that if I was going to take a role, it was 100% always going to be a white woman.
Yeah.
And I just remember doing a show, The Children's Hour, right before I left Portland to go to Seattle. And I just remember taking on the role and being aware of the time period, being 1930s, and thinking there would be way more in this if we had acknowledged that I was Asian as well.
So
And it was just completely ignored. And this like almost interracial relationship was just kind of like put under. And it was
you guys still
because
acted like it was in the 1930s.
it was 1930s.
Yeah.
We just assumed that I was white
Yeah.
and moved on.
Okay.
I will say though that like your point about assimilation, I think it's like not necessarily you have to, but I feel like when you start off and if you don't know, and you don't have the privilege
Yeah,
to
that's
just
pressure.
to choose those roles, and because the model of theater, I would argue, like the majority of the canon is white, you do have to assimilate in a lot of ways, especially the business. Yeah.
What do you guys mean by assimilation?
So just like do exactly what the majority is doing, just be like everyone else. That's what we mean.
To strip away, I guess, your like ethnic identity.
Ignore,
to,
yeah, that
like,
part.
And are you talking about in what roles you
Just in theater in
audition
general, you know?
for, or how you approach a
Yeah,
role?
so say if like you're doing a Shakespeare show, you're auditioning for a Shakespeare show, and they want to do it in period, like classical, like normal. It's like, oh, okay, and I should like, if I'm going up for Romeo, then I should really act like I'm a British boy and not like I'm Vietnamese, you know? So that would be an example. Does that make sense?
No. Because there are
What are you
British
confused?
Asians.
What do you? I know, there totally are.
So, well, what I'm just trying to get clear on is what you mean by the decision to assimilate.
It's not necessarily a decision. It's more unconsciously like what you do.
Is assimilation the same thing as whitewashing yourself?
No, I don't think so.
So when is a moment when you feel like you've assimilated, or when you feel like you've capitulated to some
When you ignore
majority thing?
when you ignore your skin color and what you look like, I say is what assimilation is kind of like. Color blindness is pretty similar, I'd say. Kathy Shea had an example of a show, I can't remember what it's called, I think it was Our Town. And it was a very diverse cast, but they kind of just assumed they were basically all white people and never talked, like, really acknowledged. It's like, oh, you're different from me. Like, no, they just like all acted the same. I don't know if that was like, you know, I don't know what the purpose of that. I didn't see the show, so I can't say. But that's kind of an example of assimilation as well. to like ignore what you obviously are.
So when have you felt like you've had to make that?
All the time.
And do you see it as a compromise or
Yeah.
a betrayal?
At first, definitely compromise, because you have to do. If you want it, then you're gonna do what you have to do to get the job. So you're gonna compromise and like act like normal. I don't know, normal kid.
And also maybe because if like other people in the room are like they don't look like you feel like you have to like be very cognizant of like how you act or like
Totally.
or like what you're presenting to them or like
So you don't seem different or.
yeah, and it's hard because it's like at the end of the day like they will always see you as like someone who's Asian even if you like
Yeah.
you're like you pass more or you whiten your face or like you. I mean, I was thinking about even for Viet Cong at this, Oregon Shakespeare Festival, but it came to tour at the Red. Just thinking about James Ryan, who is, I believe he's mixed.
He is.
I think he's like half Asian, half white, and like he has like he's like 6'4", and he's a very like tall, muscular build.
6'6".
Really?
He's taller than me. I'm looking up at him. I'm like, oh my god, I'm 6'3".
Yeah, so he's just like huge, like very like strong guy. But I was just thinking like, is he like kind of playing off of like what we think of like Western like white male standards of masculinity in order to like get roles? And I'm not like blaming him because like I understand because he also like is white and like he also is a talented actor. Like I really do think so. But just thinking about like how stereotypes or like how you like put yourself in these positions so you can like be more marketable even. And like that is something that is like do we as Asian Americans have to like I don't know like have like Asian women sometimes have like blonde hair, like what like is that meaning so they could like look more white? Like I don't like it is or I don't but they're like things that I just kinda think about because it's like how do we do things in order to like get work? Yeah, I don't know. Think about that a little bit. What are your thoughts? Are you thinking about something?
Hazel, yeah, you have a thinking face on.
I always have a thinking face on, hopefully. I don't know, I was having a lot of thoughts in response to your guys' experience, and that's really what I'm curious about, because I feel like I've gone through stages of, I think, what I'm hearing, which is like, when I first started as an actor, I think I was sort of colorblind myself, because I felt like having bought into this idea of meritocracy, I was like, well, if I'm good enough as an actor, then I should be cast for any part.
Yes.
Any female part. So that was how I approached auditioning, and that was how I applied for parts. I would just submit for any part that I thought would be interesting to work on or that I thought I was good enough for. And then it was sort of just a consequence of being in the audition room and also taking classes, and really, I cannot recommend this enough. Like working at a casting agency really opened my eyes to what, not just how I'm seen, but also what people in the industry see and expect and how they define roles. So based off of that, I suppose I learned a little bit more about how I am portrayed or how my people are portrayed or how
people want you to be.
Sure, yeah. And I think that was more when I became socially conscious in the acting sense, because I'd always been somewhat of a socially conscious person in other respects. Like I came into acting after I'd done my undergrad. So
where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Philippines, and then I grew up in Bremerton, and then I came here for college,
that's right.
and then I moved to DC, and then I came back here. So there were all these different layers of Asianness that I'd experienced, and coming into the industry, I recognized something in myself about my own way of approaching identity And part of that was learning how people saw me and then making the decision to either use that or don't. So when I ask about assimilation, to me it's like, I think it's not so much assimilation as, I don't know, it's something that I'm talking about with my students right now about using what you have. And it's, ultimately it has to be in your, ultimately it's your decision. It's, yes, you could lose a role for the way you look, but you could lose a role for not being as funny as the producers want you to be, or
you don't have the chemistry with the other person.
Right, exactly. It could be so many other factors besides your Asianness. So the sooner you can learn that the decision is yours, the better. And that was something I didn't realize until much later.
You were in a Kui Gwen show.
Yes.
Did you play Kui? Is that correct?
No, I did not.
Oh, you did
That
not.
was-
That's right. Oh, yeah, duh. I know.
Because of Agent G.
You're Agent G. So can you talk? You want to talk about your experience in that?
Mine? I don't really even know the experience, I guess. I don't
You
know
did?
how, like,
You were in it?
like, yeah, well, like,
Okay.
I don't
So
know how,
I'm
like,
curious about
So
that.
how did you hear about it? Let's start there. How did you hear about audition?
I heard from the list server on Drama. And then
And what did you do?
and I just applied to get the role. But then I think at that point, like what Hazel was talking about, like when I'm auditioning, I feel like when I don't get a part, it's more like I'm not good enough to like, because I'm still starting out and I'm still like,
Don't
I'm
have the
auditioning, I'm
confidence.
trying to like be the best I can, and then
Yeah.
if I'm like good enough, then I'll get the role. But I haven't really thought of like, I'm like too Asian for the role. I haven't really like gone to that point yet.
Were you a theater major?
No. I took a few classes, but I never,
Okay.
checked the.
I went through something similar too. I like looked at it for as a long time. When I started, I was like, okay, I have to work 10 times harder than everybody else because I'm Asian, so they look at me lower than everyone else. So I have to be really, really good. I need to sing, I need to dance, I need to know Shakespeare, I need to know everything because I need to have it all if they ask me for it. And that's what my mindset was at 13 years old, ever since I started acting.
Which isn't entirely unfounded either. Like
No.
that's a conversation I have with other
Right.
minority friends. is that
Absolutely.
There is an expectation in any field that if you're a minority, you do have to present something different, something more exciting,
Unique
or
and
more
personal.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And then that's when I realized, I was like, oh, it's not a bad thing, it's just a different thing. So I obtained, my Asian culture, and then everybody else has their own culture, whatever they grew up in. Like, it's a two-way street. Like, yes, I may not get things because I won't be fit for like the setting. If it's in like, southern Texas in like 1700s, like I'm definitely not gonna get casted then. But if it's in, anywhere in Asia, I played every single Asian country
Right.
almost.
Like Canadian, Chinese.
Right. So like I have all of those opportunities that I can get. So then when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I've been so close-minded,
Yeah.
You know what I've been thinking about from like this stuff is the word equity and equality. Those two words, because those get like talked about a lot.
Yep.
And I wanted to see what your guys' thoughts on those
Here's something has to say.
topics were.
Just because you've been doing that work in the school of drama too.
Yeah. Oh man.
Equity work or
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of racial equity workshops and specifically helping with the Undergraduate Theater Society and School of Drama to get a little better. And they're open to change and they're slowly moving towards.
So what are
Taking
the
this-
equity workshops? How do you run them? What's the format?
Yeah. Specifically for the Undergraduate Theater Society. So we have our advisor Andrew Sau, and Tim Bond, who was the associate director of Oregon Shakespeare Festival, who did a lot of diversity training when he was at Oregon Shakespeare for many, many, many years, and came here. And I remember talking to him because I knew that, and talked to him about the all-white cast that we keep putting on stage, especially for our BA shows.
Was he noticing it while he was not here? Because I know he was at Syracuse. Like, had he talked? Like, did he hear about like what was happening like when he was not here?
No, he didn't know.
Okay.
And when he came here, it was
Yeah.
kind of like that's how it's done here.
Huh.
Interesting. But I just remember going up to him and specifically talking about the casting of this year's shows.
Yeah.
That we noticed that there was all white cast consistently, and I was getting very, very angry about it. And I just remember talking to Andrew and Tim about my frustration about it. And earlier in the summer, I've been talking to Kathy Shea about like what we can do, because there is so we, as an administration, it's a student arts administration group essentially, as the executive board. And at the time, it was me and one other Asian on the board. The rest were white people. And specifically talking with Kathy about how to function on an administrative board, being the only or one of the only people of color with a diversity initiative.
Right.
And diversity and inclusion. And I think, because they have a basic understanding as to like, they know that something is wrong. There's the base level of that. And them feeling uncomfortable as to like how to move forward from that, and what do they need to do to move forward, how do they get this education, and talking with Tim as to like what he did when he went to Oregon Shakespeare and it was like on the cusp of becoming what it was, started to become.
Sure.
And him and women like Carmen Morgan, another wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman who is very, very committed to racial equity and inclusion. And talking to them about how to talk to white people about actually doing their own self-evaluation and going in and talking about these uncomfortable things to them. And so literally we would sit down on Sundays and with advice from Kathy and Tim and Carmen Morgan, putting together this basic resource.
Talk to white people you're talking about?
Essentially. But like understanding your white fragility in the arts and why you should feel bad about worrying about giving up your roles to people of color. That they're worried about like their opportunities being taken away because it would go to other people. Or specifically, if it was targeted towards a racial group, like if it was, I know that there was backlash about people doing Agent G because that meant it was going to be specifically Asian actors. So that means it's a show of like, that's something else.
Don't get me started on that. Okay.
Well, we can talk about that in a moment, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying that like, there was a little bit of backlash because it was like, well, we can't audition for that because that's an Asian show. And
Well, it's not like Asian people don't exist.
Well, I couldn't audition for that show, so.
Because you're in grad school.
But it was just like that sort of thinking was so prevalent, and especially the undergraduate
That's so
society.
surprising to me. Because we deal with it all the time.
Oh yeah.
Every day, every show, almost.
Of
And
course.
it's just like, we don't bitch about it. We do our work, and we get better. We don't bitch.
Oh no, we bitch about it.
We bitch about it.
We do.
You're right. We do both. Okay, we do both. Okay,
And we work.
yes, we do work. But and then white people get a taste of it, and then they start rioting and, making petitions and shit.
I think the reason why there's such a struggle for people who are white to not understand equality versus equity is because the business is hard as it is. Because let's say if there was only one type of race,
Uh-huh.
it would be like it would still be ultra competitive, right? It would just be saturated with actors, or, you know, directors or playwrights, and it would be very competitive. So like people think like I put in the work, you know, like you know, like I didn't get auditions
Not
too.
fair.
Why can't you do that too? Because like I'm just getting better.
Yeah.
And like I've been told by white actors, like, oh, why can't you? She's like, it happens to me too. Like I don't get roles, but it's like, no, but like I think that there's some times where I can sense that like they're not looking for what I represent, because I walk in the door and they see me and they're like, oh, I didn't really think about someone who's non-white, so like I'm not gonna like take you. And so like that's the difference, because people don't realize too, in my personal experience, that people don't realize like why. Because then, like, if again, like they would be giving up things to help balance out the like inequities in place, but then it's like, well, like that's less on us. And like as the world is becoming more diverse, and there's like, I don't know, things like Moonlight and like Hidden Figures, and like now like at the Sundance, it was called Fences, or like I think it was called like, was it called Gook? It was like, and it was like written by like I think Korean American playwright. Like there are things like that where like, oh, there are less things that are, I guess, like just getting more attention than I think people maybe are threatened, because it's like there's not. I don't know. I'm just kind of grappling with that kind of worry.
Wait, so where's the diversity initiative now?
Oh yes.
Yeah, so what I was saying was that we are, it's still like a very long process, and of course like a few workshops are not enough, and it's going to be an ongoing thing of moving forward, and we hope to implement that for like as a regular thing for the board from now on. But it is like identifying what is in themselves and makes themselves so upset when given the prospect of these changes, positive changes, and them understanding like what is this fragility that they're feeling, and to not kind of like shrivel when they hear the word like white supremacy and white fragility, because that is kind of like the kind of thing that they feel. And
versus us, we're like, let's talk about it.
White supremacy, let's talk about that. No, but it's so going through and really talking about these issues and opening up a dialogue just to like, hey, it's okay to talk about this, we need you to talk about it. And moving forward and changing our casting policies, going in and changing our mission statement, and really evaluating where we feel best serves our community, and making policy changes and seeing these values being put on stage, and for the rest of the community to see it and hope that they can see themselves on stage. And we're still very much in the process, but we are putting stages in that pave a way if things go right, and we do have like a consistently open board, which is what we're hoping to look for from now on when we look at applicants, that they do want to continue.
Wants to continue being in theater?
No.
Wait.
I'm saying continue with the initiative, and they hold the same values
Oh,
as we
okay.
do.
Doing equity.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think in going back to your equity versus equality issue, I will always remember the graphic that you always see.
Always, yeah.
You know, with and those who don't know what that is, it's the boxes with like a fence to see over. Like there's 3 people and they're all different heights, and they have boxes and to see over the fence that they have.
So on one side, the boxes are the same height.
And that's equality.
So like you're all given the same thing, but because the shorter person is still shorter, even with the same size box, they still can't see over the fence. Versus the tall person can already see over the the fence. They have more. Like they have a box, and they can see even higher.
Even higher. Yeah.
So
they were.
Equity is like giving them boxes that will like it's dependent on their condition. Yeah, exactly. On their circumstance. So like the shorter person gets like a taller box, so that at the end of the day they all are like the same height.
It's a really cute graphic and it's really helpful.
It's very simple and it's not very complicated.
No, it's
Except that it also furthers the notion that people are where they're at in society because that's just the way it is. People
What
are
do you
short
mean?
because they're short. People are tall because they're tall. But people are short because tall people make them short.
Okay.
So one thing that they want to do is like there's like sometimes like a third graphic involved with that. I mean, like the fence should be there, and they should all just be able to see the like the field. So like it doesn't matter like
Cool.
yeah. But like yeah.
But like growing up, did you have any? And this is like everyone. Who did you look up to when you were thinking about like when I think of an Asian actor?
Yeah.
Who do I think of? How do they help you?
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan.
The Rush Hour movies were my favorite. Rush Hour 2 is the DVD I had, and I watch it constantly.
Yes.
I can recite it. Yeah, like there's like scenes that I love. Don't get me started on Rush Hour 2, y'all. It's really it's those kind of movies where you see people that look like you, and you're just like, oh hey, that could be like my uncle or something, you know? Yeah.
So Jackie Chan, Margaret Cho.
I think like I didn't really have much Asian actor look up to me because I didn't really want to do like when I looked at Jackie Chan, he mostly did like fighting movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to do that, so there wasn't too many like dramatic Asian actors out there.
So
Yes.
who did you look up to?
I mostly looked up to DiCaprio for some reason because he just
Okay.
did a lot of good movies, and I wanted
Which
to be
was the
in
first
that
movie that
position.
you saw him in?
Probably Titanic.
Yes.
Same.
But I just wanted to be in the position to
Yeah.
do all those roles.
Cool.
That's actually what I grew up on. So I grew up in the Philippines, but the Philippines is very Americanized to a pretty big extent culturally. And so my heroes were like Harrison Ford in Star Wars and Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones. Like I wasn't looking at what is his name?
Lea Salonga.
Short Round, the little Asian kid.
Oh, from that one movie? Yeah.
Yes, in Temple of Doom. I wasn't looking at him and being like, oh, that's me on screen, and that's what I'm going to grow up to be. No, I was looking at Indiana Jones and being like, I'm going to be Indiana Jones. So I think that was where, those were the roles that I saw. I just put myself in that role where I was like, oh, of course I'm going to be the adventurer, going across the landscape, or running around the world, saving damsels, or whatever. But I think that was, I don't know what made me decide that except that I wanted to be that.
Yeah.
Like he looked like he could do whatever he wanted. He had all the resources, could go wherever he wanted.
But the world tells us that like that's the best thing too.
And that's,
Yeah.
And that's interesting because
Right.
like we have to like come up with our own art, and we have to like anime, manga. Like, those are huge because like it's like fantasy, like what we could be like possibly, like our people.
So as much as I resent to some extent the fact that I didn't have a whole lot of like really strong Asian characters to look up to, I am now thankful that I had those characters to look up to because it gives me that fire of like, yes, and now I'm at the point in my life where I can play Indiana Jones, so why can't I?
Exactly.
Or like seeing Lara Croft, as much as she's a sexualized female, she's still a strong female.
Right.
And I will advocate for her being
Whatever she
a
wants.
role model for.
That's why Hamilton is such a fucking groundbreaking show, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like we're just telling the story, and like, yes, I'm not white. I'm not like Alexander Hamilton in that way, but I also did experience like myself too. Not having a father growing up, like a lot of people, it doesn't matter what color you are, like a lot of people like maybe had a father, maybe like was poor, maybe was an immigrant. Like so many factors get ignored just because of color.
Yeah.
And Hamilton flips it on its head.
Right, and it touches on that conversation of like not having the narrative as an Asian person playing a white role, but it gives it power in a way because it's completely recasting all these dead old white men in a way that makes the story more profound, really.
Right, and it's that's a good like sign of like where we're gonna go, right? That this is the biggest musical and it's the most like equitable thing you can think of, right? Probably.
Right.
And it's sold out for months and months and years. And
Yeah, there was some like
Right.
APAC. So you know, APAC is now keeping track of
What's
diversity
APAC?
in
Yeah.
Asian American Pacific
Something.
Action
Asian thing.
Coalition.
APAC, yeah.
Okay.
I think I got close.
You got the
Anyway, yeah. So they started, I think, in the past 5 years,
Yeah.
taking statistics on Broadway roles and diversity in those roles, and they were like, I think it was 2016 or 2015 was one of the most successful seasons for Asian Americans, but it was because of King and I.
Yeah.
Yes.
So on the one hand, yes, a lot of Asians, and on the other hand, it's King and I.
It's the
But, but then, yeah, the added bonus of Hamilton's success is that it's showing producers, really, the people who are making these really black and white decisions,
Right.
that actually audiences would love to see people of color on stage.
Absolutely. So take a risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of what we're supposed to end on, of like what do we need to do to get more representation? I think
Yes.
that's like the question. And I think that is like a really, really good model. Does anyone have any like good thoughts about?
I mean, I think I already stated my thoughts on
Yeah.
it. Like, to reiterate, I think it starts from the beginning where, like, in schools, we get math, we get science, we get geography, all that stuff. We get drawing, but we don't, we get music, which is performing art, but we don't get drama specifically most of the time, for me, in my experience. So if people got to learn how to tell their story, and that their story matters and people care, then I think that would really change things.
And those stories matter even when they don't feel like they do, you know, like
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even though maybe not here, somewhere there's somebody that's like, oh my gosh, somebody feels the same way. And that's when that connection happens, like life is made. I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that like in the structure of like arts administration and just like the structures of theater companies, that they need to be represented in every single level.
Yes.
Not just the bottom or the top, but like everywhere in between.
Yeah.
And also for companies to stop putting on like Madame Butterfly with all white
Please.
casts.
Right.
What was
And-
that? What's that? What's the Guildenstern? What's it called? Not Guildenstern.
Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, the
Ah.
Mikado, Madame
That show.
Butterfly,
South
things
Pacific.
that South Pacific. You know, these archaic shows that are still being put on for these white donors that exoticize
It's
the
literal
culture.
minstrelsy.
It's minstrelsy, and I think the thing is that like because yellowface is. It's so prevalent, but
that was
it's
the
so.
point
I know that was
about-
one we want to talk
Yeah.
about. It's just like
Part two. We have a lot to say.
I do have a lot to
Part two.
say, and I think that it's just like bringing forth to attention again is to like the problems with yellowface, the problems with not putting forth positive normalizing stories
Yes.
that are not based on minstrelsy or any sort of exoticism about our culture.
Yes, please.
And I think that is a wonderful way to get started in the right direction.
Yeah.
I just for Stanley, just keep at it and like you know Asian American actors and
Yeah.
just like build that community so like you can like
Absolutely.
continue creating and doing the work that you want to do and be in the spaces that you want to be in
Right.
and that you deserve to be in, and that we all do. It's just that it's harder, but like together like this. I mean, this is like very special. Like we don't. We're just chatting about these
Yeah.
issues. Like they're like this will like this is going towards something. So like I just like best of luck, man, and just like keep at it.
Yeah. We're happy to have you.
Yeah.
Right.
Welcome.
Well,
I think it is, in addition to having really diverse theater companies, it's also really something I would love to see more of is what's happening now slowly, is like having playwrights who are generational Asian Americans. So
Yes.
like Lorne or Clarence Koo
Beautiful.
or
Yeah.
Gwen. You're the Gwen
Yes.
expert in the room.
Right.
Who are telling these stories that aren't like my family.
Yeah. Like
is
in
Asian.
my country, we
Yeah, exactly.
have so
Like, 'cause
many problems.
I am pretty sure
All that
that
bullshit.
most of the actors that we know are not that
No.
generation. I mean, yes, I came here from the Philippines, but I'm not going to be like
That's not
whatever
the majority of
plays
your life.
this character
Experience.
from
Yeah.
Miss Saigon in the Philippines.
yeah.
Totally.
But yeah, it's that added texture of like.
Yeah.
In the same way that you have concerns about biracialness, there's also bi-generation.
Yeah.
So being able to have those stories on stage, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
Um,
That's very interesting because like since I saw Vietnam and I was like, wow, I've never seen a play like this before.
right. And there are plays out there. It's just that they're not being produced.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And they're very new.
yeah,
It's new.
but there are plays that like
Our experiences. Yeah.
as I've been digging up playwrights who haven't been produced, there are plays written in like the 90s that are covering these topics. It's
You
just,
just
that
don't
they've,
know about them.
yeah, they haven't been put out in front of audiences.
Right.
So that's some of the,
And I think we gotta change. We're part of the movement to change it. And
Yeah.
like personally, I'm doing a lot of stuff.
yes.
I need to talk to you.
That was
actually.
what I was gonna,
Yeah.
that's what I just forgot and then just
Okay.
remembered, is
Yes.
that there is too, for us minorities, this sense of like, you have to be whatever.
Faceted. Whatever.
In a good way, like, so you stage manage, you self-produce, you do other aspects of performance
Yeah.
in order to be able to do the thing, tell the story that is you. So I'm still figuring that out for myself, but like, I'm realizing that that's a strength, really. And having more people in this community that you can be like, hey, I want to do this and this and this, is really, I think, a good way to grow as an actor and performer,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and a good way to grow the Asian American scene too.